Hello, everyone, and welcome to Family Law Fridays presented by Florida Women's Law Group. My name is Jadlyn Fleischer, and I am a legal intern here at Florida Women's Law Group. Family Law Fridays is designed to be a resource for all women with any type of family law issue. Today, we'll be discussing a little bit about forensic accounting and how to handle a case if you think your husband may be hiding money. Now, before we get started, I would like to give you some more information about our host, Heather Quick. Heather is the founder and CEO of Florida Women's Law Group, which is a family law firm that advocates for women in North Florida. The firm educates and empowers women on their rights and the law so that they can find the strength to endure the process and end up better financially and emotionally. She's been a licensed Florida attorney for the past 20 years, with the majority of her practice being in family law. Please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to Family Law Fridays.
Thank you, Jay, so much, and thank you for watching today. And as we venture into the topic of hidden assets, forensic accounting, what my goal here today is for you is to just explain there are options. And if you have these concerns, that is completely normal. We have represented, hundreds, thousands of women over the years, and this is a normal concern because you are separating and divorcing, and there's a lack of trust. There are, which is essential. And then if you're married to the type of man who is controlling and financially controlling, sometimes I would say that there is financial abuse as a typical behavior that we'll see. That these concerns are to be expected and normal. So, and we're going to ask you that. Do you think they're hiding assets? Are you afraid of that? And the reason is because we want to know, because we do have tools. We have ways to figure this out and make you feel more comfortable. Because at the end of the day, if you are, in a divorce situation, going through attending mediation, going through a trial, one, I think, and there's many, but there's one thing that is so very important, and that is your confidence in that you have a good picture of everything that exists. Because that concern or fear that something was always hidden, that may always sit with you, make you uncomfortable, and it's hard to get closure and move on with your life when you have that. And our goal here at Florida Women's Law Group is one, to get you through this divorce in the best possible way we can and help you situated and set up for success in your new life. And you can't do that if you're always wondering, well, I didn't know did we really do everything we needed to do? Are we sure that we addressed all the assets and liabilities? So talk a little bit about that, because very often we have that situation. And there are two different types of situations that bring forensic accounting into play. And what that is when you think forensic, it's very detailed and makes me think medical, which it is. It's a dissection. It's looking into the details. And we have some wonderful, amazing forensic accountants in Florida, North Florida area particularly, that we use, and they frequently do this within the dissolution of marriage cases and in divorce. So they understand the premise by which we're looking through this and are able to evaluate the information and provide us with their expert opinion. And many times that is necessary, and sometimes it's helpful in mediation to get to help settle a case based on this is what our expert's going to say, and it's always necessary at trial if there's a dispute. So I'm talking about a few things, starting with the questions about hidden assets, because I've dealt with that so many times, and I know it's a common fear, particularly if you're not the one controlling the finances or involved. So where there is the most opportunity is when you have, when your husband is either self-employed, part of a big business, part of maybe a global business overseas, type income, so that there's multiple streams of income coming in. Because then there's more areas, more opportunity for some income maybe not to be disclosed and just siphoned off. It's very different for, even if it's a high earning job, the CEO of a company where, they're earning, close to $1 million a year. If it's in the US and it's reported essentially W-2 income, sometimes there's what we would say, like maybe there's some K-1 from investments, or they did some consulting work, and so they're, or 1099 are treated differently, but all the income is from a company that's reporting it for tax purposes. We can then see all the income that came in. It doesn't mean that they then won't move it out, or there's not that possibility. However, it gives us a better review and opportunity to see all of the money that came in. Where there can be other issues is if they are self-employed consultants and have their own businesses, and then may have several different businesses that they have, for an entity. It's relatively easy to set up, say, an LLC and then a sub-LLC. Yes, are taxes required and filings and all that? They are, but one of the things that we do in a divorce is our general discovery. Okay, well, it's essentially voluntary discovery, and that means if your husband refuses or does not disclose a particular bank account, we may not find it. We may not know that he has any accounts whatsoever at, say, Wells Fargo. We've always been to Bank of America. That's where a forensic accountant, so those are like some of the issues that come up. And what is generally in our client's best interest is, and we always have this discussion, okay, if you're a spouse and you own a business, run a business, we're generally going to say, okay, we're making to value this business. We're going to most likely want to hire that forensic accountant business valuation to provide that data for us. So those are a little two different things, but some of them overlap. But with the forensic accountant, then exactly like it says, diving into the numbers and tracing, everything coming in, going out, or if there's a lot of money going out, sometimes it's backwards to find, well, where's all this money coming from? Is it all being accounted for? Do we see irregularities? Do we see changes in the pattern? Or do we see potentially money's going somewhere and, hey, we don't know where that account is, that hasn't been disclosed. So many times, the forensic accountant says they can point you to, well, we should ask for this different information. These are things that aren't adding up correctly, so that then we can seek that out. And there are many reasons why it's better that they're doing that rather than your lawyer. One, I am certainly not an accounting CPA trained in that area at all. My job in our attorneys here is to focus on the legal arguments as it relates to the assets and liabilities. And we're your attorney, your advocate, can't testify on your behalf. So I may be able to read a tax return, not as good as an accountant, but I can read it. I filed plenty in my life, and in the business side, I have things that will raise questions. Same with bank accounts. But it's many times necessary for that accountant to, one, help us understand not only like where the money's gone, but then it's a little more complex, mathematics to help us understand the value, and I'll get into that in a minute. But also, then we have somebody to go to court to say, well, Judge, I reviewed 6 years of bank records, and this account, these are where the irregularities are, and this is the money that's missing. That there is there's no other side of it. Like, we see it going out, but we can't account for where it went, what it was used for, or maybe what account it's sitting in. And that's what matters, is at the end of the day, what you can prove. And or what you can even say, this evidence doesn't exist. So by saying, hey, we know the money came in, we don't know where it went, or we know it went out, and we're trying to locate the source. So there's some other source of money that is flowing in. And that's what we are. We prove that through the evidence of a testimony of an expert before the judge, who educates the lawyers, educates the court, explains what they found. And they give an opinion based on their review of everything and their experience in doing that for a very long time. So that's one thing. Like, we think there's hidden assets. Okay, we'll go through some criteria. If the answers are yes, okay, let's engage this professional expert to help us. Now, many times we are looking at non-marital as well as marital property, and we need a valuation, we need a determination out of the money in this retirement account. How much is non-marital, how much is marital? Many things go into this. Some are legal analysis and the case law as to what that supports, but then we also need the accountant to review that. If you come into the marriage with $250,000 in a retirement investment account, there's going to be the compound interest over where it grows based on that initial amount. But then we're also going to have contributions, and so they have to do what's called, I think it's a coverture fraction, and they're evaluating all that, not only the growth but the contributions, to come up with a percentage that's going to be marital. And that's the analysis you need and want, because if it's your property, you're saying, hey, I brought this into the marriage, I'm trying to protect as much as possible. Well, we need to engage somebody to assist with that so that the court has reliable evidence which to base that on. Your testimony in and of itself is really not going to be sufficient unless it was $250,000 in an account and you never touched it and no money ever went in during the marriage. That does happen, but rarely. And so those are, sometimes there's rental properties and was there marital money used? They stayed separate. Was there marital efforts? There can be several issues that, it's in your best interest to investigate and understand, so that you're not leaving too much money on the table, because we never want to do that. We don't want you to go into a situation and settle and you left, half the assets on the table because you didn't think you were entitled, or you just accepted your husband's version of, well, that's mine, and that didn't occur during the marriage. But it's not always that simple. Rarely is it that simple, particularly the more assets there are and more that went into the marriage. And so, what I have found over years of practice is that once we are able to engage a professional, the clients find that they're really given some good expert analysis and opinion on the numbers, and they feel much more comfortable going into negotiations. They feel much more comfortable that they have an awareness of all that exists, because there is definitely a lot of fear that goes into the dissolution of marriage and dividing assets and liabilities and how that's going to play out. So if with that expert we can take away that one piece of fear, it may not subside all your anxiety, all of your concerns about your future, but it does hopefully lower that level, because you have more education, more information about what exists. And that's my belief, that if you have the information, then you can make educated decisions. You can make some decisions for your future that are based on the facts and the evidence that we've found through experts who do this all the time and every day. And then you've got a great team behind you when you go to court, and that helps reduce the anxiety, because everyone should have a good team on their side. And if you have been in a marriage where you have not had financial control over the assets or limited information, you may feel at a disadvantage without that team. And on the other side, though, if you have been the primary breadwinner and you have been providing that, you're going to need an expert to see how much we can protect that for you and where that will end up for you down the road, because this is the best, this is really your one and only shot in the original divorce when we deal with assets and liabilities. We don't get to go back and do a redo. There are some things that are modifiable, depending, of course, on how the order is written. But generally speaking, when we are dividing up your marital property, assets, liability, those are not modified. You can't change that later. And somebody says, oh, well, if there's fraud, one that's very difficult to prove and costly, and you have, again, a time limit. That's not forever. So it may be that, well, I just want it done and I'm not willing to look into that. Just own that if that's the way you feel, and understand that you more likely than not will feel different in 3 to 5 years. And that is our goal for our clients, understand, hey, we understand it's difficult now. You're concerned about investing this much in various experts. You're concerned about upsetting your husband because you're questioning what he says. And we're going to do another video on narcissism. We've done a lot of them. These types of behaviors and controlling personalities that you see with many men and women, but we see it obviously with many of the men in a divorce. And the reason you tiptoe around is because you're scared. You're scared of pissing them off because they know that you'll get nothing. And that's not what the law says. But it's hard. It's like courage to be like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna stand up for you. You're gonna allow us and experts to stand up for you, understand what's available to you, and proceed through the case. And that is, I know the results end up better, and there's definitely a lack of regret in that. And that's what we want for our clients. We really want you to have a wonderful future. Get through this period of time, which is difficult while you're there, but it's going to be a snapshot, and you have the rest of your life. Let's create a wonderful foundation for you to go through the rest of your life. And part of that is having courage and working through the fear, working through the uncomfortableness, because it is going to be worth it down the road, again, in peace of mind and closure, because that allows you to move forward. And I thank you so very much for tuning in today. Stay tuned for more videos that we will share with you on Family Law Fridays. And we really welcome comments, questions, topics that are of interest to you, because if I am not the right person to speak on it, I will certainly bring in a guest that we can have a discussion that is really addressing the concerns you're having today. So thank you so much for joining us. And JD will let you know where to contact us, how to contact us, if we can help you move through your divorce and onto a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, and to everyone who's able to listen in today for Family Law Fridays. We hope you found this information today helpful. If there is a topic you would like addressed or a question you would like answered, please call, email, or send us a Facebook message, and it could be addressed in an upcoming video, like Heather mentioned. Additionally, if you are contemplating divorce, looking for a modification, or need help with your parenting plan or time sharing in this uncertain time, please reach out to our office, as we are here for you. Our phone number is 904-241-0012. Thank you, and see you next time.